Evening everybody, welcome in to your box seat. Brought to you in association with Sweet Lou, standing at Woodlands. Michael Guerin, we're smack bang in the middle of two premier meetings from Addington Raceway, which always holds significance, but with the Jules news coming out, gee, it's a busy old time. Evening to you.
Sure, it's big hi to you, Greg. Big hi to everybody. Hope Wednesday went well for you. It's a funny thing because we're so close to the Jules and it's been building for such a long time, and the signs are really positive. And it's a $1.275 million meeting, so it is a huge thing just around the corner. But you can't let it overshadow the fact that Addington this week is a serious night. It's Oaks night, it's Sires Stakes night. The trotters for the 3-year-olds have their big go. So I think we'll get over this hump first, and it's been added to, Greg, by the fact that pretty much the pecking orders are now established in some of these grades, maybe not the 2-year-olds, but all of a sudden in the 3-year-old fillies we have a rarity. She's All Rock is the New South Wales Oaks and Victoria Oaks winner. She's turned up at the All-Stars, basically out of nowhere, and we're not sure how she ranks against Ellie Mack. So all of a sudden there's been this enigma thrown into the mix, which makes it very interesting. What was already going to be a spectacular night. So we will talk about the Jules a little bit, but mainly this week, Greg, it's about those who were successful last Friday and who we think's going to be successful this Friday with one key market, Gregory. I'm pretty sure the bookies have stuffed this up.
All right, well, we'll get to that. Nice work on David Branch too, the CEO out of Cambridge. Young man doing some good things, and I know he's looking forward to the Harness Jules. So we've got the Neville ER final from last week. We've got a big upset for you. Met preview. Michael's already alluded to some of the races there. CT Dalgety has hit a milestone. That's what the best dress refers to. Of course, we've got the Auckland features from last week as well, including the Sales Series final for 150k. Unfortunately, A.G. Hurley won't be part of the Harness Jules. Spare ribs.
No, remarkable incident last week. We'll discuss that later in the show. Where's he at? And as I said, he might miss the Jules, so the drive on Star Galleria would appear to be up for grabs, and Star Galleria's former rival, Zach Butcher, will probably appear to be the man who could potentially get that. So we have a lot to get through. But last week at Addington, wasn't she the star of the show, Ellie Mack? She was just... It reminded me of Spanish Armada this time last year when she got into that groove and it went from being a bunch of fillies who could be good to being one who was too good, and here she is absolutely smashing them in the Neville ER.
Delight in Me, and then came Better Tricks, but Ellie Mack's racing away with the Neville ER. She's going to come away and score easily. It's Ellie Mack home. Second in is Better Tricks. Third, Delight in Me. Fourth, the Barber Making Ground from Gold Orchid.
Congratulations, Natalie. You got into a beautiful spot, of course, in the 1-1. Bit of pressure up front, and yeah, she's just been too good, this girl.
Yeah, Greg, it was actually like you couldn't have scripted it any better for a fresh up run. You know, she just felt super coming around the last bend, and then, you know, when she straightened up, just powered away. So I was just thrilled with her.
Look, her record speaks for herself. The run she got tonight's not going to knock her at all going towards the Oaks next week.
No, I think she'll just be better for it, Greg. You know, bar and bad luck between now and then. She should be super good for next week.
Well, congratulations to you. Third win in the race for you in this mighty fine filly, owned, of course, by Jean Feast, and she just keeps on having a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, she does. Yeah, it's lovely for Jeannie. She's over again tonight and back home tomorrow to Melbourne, so lovely to see her on course.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Greg.
Yeah, 9 of the last 14, or 9 of 14 she's won, and the All-Stars just continue their juggernaut through these group races for the season.
Yeah, and this filly, as I said, very similar to Spanish Armada last year. She just looks in the zone, and when those fillies get in the zone, Greg, you know what it's like. You just keep backing them. So, look, slightly difficult, more difficult trip this week, second line barrier draw, but the other key horses, She's All Rock, also have second line barrier draws. I thought the disappointment here was Better Joy, who led, and I'm fine with her being beaten by Ellie Mack. There's no concerns there, but Delight in Me managed to get up outside her and played rough and tumble with her here, but beat her home. And that's what
And that fact stat there, this year's time was the slowest since Adore Me 5 years ago.
I think she's underperformed, but compared with her best, and the fact that Delight Me attacked her down the back straight, some people would say, oh, well, that's team driving and there'd be accusations. Bottom line is she beat her home. And
nearly ran second.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think no matter how you run this race, Ellie Mack could be too good for them, and I've got a funny feeling that may be the case this week because I know you've been out to the All-Stars on the weekend, and I think they are thinking She's All Rock might be really good, but it doesn't have the advantages that Ellie Mac's going to have, home track, being in their system for a lot longer, not having travelled, all that sort of stuff.
Well, we've got the advantage of being there on Sunday and some footage of She's All Rock, Ellie Mac, who's in between Delight in Me and Better Tricks. So this is the work from Sunday. They weren't doing a whole lot, but there's She's All Rock with the earmuffs on there. Look, I said to Mark, what sort of conditions should you turn up in? He said, pretty good, pretty good. There's probably a little bit there that we can work with because since she did win the Oaks over there, he wasn't sure how much they'd done with her, but she's obviously very good, Michael. We'll get to see her go out. There's Ellie Mac, Delight in Me, and Better Tricks going out to do some job work as well. So
Now, Better Tricks has been sold?
That's right, yep, okay. going to the States. So Mark will drive, She's All Rock, and there she is, just out in front of the other three. And she's enjoying her surroundings. She seems to have settled in quite nicely, and Mark relatively happy with her. What he won't be happy with is the barrier draw, because she's going to have to be probably a couple of lengths better than Ellie Mac, and that's a big statement.
Yeah, and I don't think she is yet, and I think that the disadvantages of getting into a new system, coming to a new country, it's obviously a fair bit colder in the South Island than it would probably be in Victoria at the moment. There's a whole range of things which means you would doubt she's probably 100% for this week, whereas Ellie Mac clearly is. I think she'll just win. I do it. And the bookies aren't giving you a huge spoil, but that's fair because, you know, she's an established top-class filly. The horse they're giving odds for now is Better Joy, who, as I said, I didn't think had an excuse to drop out as she did last week. Delight in Me's got barrier 1 here. I'm not saying she'll win.
Placed in the Northern Oaks.
Market gives her, she's at $2, so therefore she's in play. Let's wind this market down. Ellie Mac will take most of the money. I think $1.65 is fair. I can't see her paying more on the day. I actually think She's All Rock will get out. I think it'll get out to $4.50 because the information which will come percolating through the system will be that they're not expecting the best version of her this week. When I did have a talk to Mark, he said, look, I think she's used to that Australian racing where they go bat out of hell, and maybe she needs to settle more for our distance racing. But that's not saying by the time they get to the duels, bat out of hell may not be the way to go.
Exactly. We need to hear from those beaten drivers out of the Neville R, of course, leading towards the Oaks this week.
Mark, Better Tricks, you finished into a placing. Talk me through the run.
Yeah, she got a reasonable run, worked early to cross parked and then let two of the more favoured runners go, but she stuck to her guns up the straight and sort of stuck with Ellie Mac's back anyway and managed to run on into second.
Next week looks a pretty hard task running down Ellie Mac.
Yes, it certainly does. She looks the pick of the 3-year-old fillies.
Brave effort in the end, Tim.
Yeah, look, really good run, Matt. Obviously, really pleased with the way she ended up for where she come from the barrier draw. It's a great effort and probably best run of her career thus far.
Yeah, okay. Pre-race, what were your thoughts tactically?
Yeah, look, we went out there pretty open-minded. Obviously, six the back row is not easy, but look, we actually got a really nice run through early and got a pretty good card up to right to the leaders. And yeah, obviously she had to brave it from the winning post, but I think that was the key to it, getting the card into it. 2,600
metres, is she the sort of horse who will cop that a little better than the 1950?
Yeah, look, I think so. I think her record over distance, it's she mightn't have won races, but she's been placed at each occasion, so yeah, it definitely won't worry her.
Terry, did that exceed your expectations tonight?
Yeah, she's definitely stepped up, and I think if she gets a good trip, well, she might run the first top 3, I think.
What were you thinking during the run? Were you confident she was going to finish it off?
She felt good, but one of the shorteners never come out and wrapped around the hobble, so I was a wee bit worried about that. And when I went to go down the back, they're all sort of half cart and we're in to go. I wish I actually just switched them and just kept going, because the last 50 she was doing her best.
Good draw in the Oaks, and you could be a player then.
I think 2.6 was suited. Like, we just need a good draw and a good run, and yeah, she'll run top 3, I hope.
Dex, what did you make of her efforts tonight?
Yeah, I'd like to finish a little bit closer, Matt. We had a good draw, but probably worked out to be not that good. So, yeah, I guess we'll be recovery stage and scrambling to get it ready for the Oaks next week.
Blair, what did you make of that?
Yeah, not that good actually, Matt, to be fair. We got the ideal trip and she was very, very average, to be honest. So, yeah, as I said, give the reins back to Nigel and said, fix the problem for next week, please, mate. But, yeah, not looking too promising, mate.
Yeah, she's been a major disappointment. Dizzy Miss Lizzie, the Jules winner from last year, of course. Terry and Glennis got what they wanted with the Barber, barrier 4. Interesting early on what happens. You'd imagine Delight and Me would be looking for an early spot, as would Better Joy. She can't really go back.
No, if they go back on Better Joy, they're back behind all the All-Stars horses, which is a waste of time. So no matter how it pans out, I think Ally Mac rolls around them in the middle stages. And if she doesn't lead, she'll be sitting parked, and I think she's good enough to sit parked and win. $1.65 is fair. It's not great odds. It doesn't excite you much at home. It doesn't excite me greatly, but it's going to be in most people's multis because I don't see a way, unless She's All Rock absolutely comes out and goes superstar. I've got a feeling the Jewels are going to suit She's All Rock better than the Oaks.
We've got a place market, top 3 market for Friday night's Oaks
you
as
like
well.
the $2, eh?
Well, I do. I can't see we're at open $2.80. That would seem ridiculous to me because she's placed in a Northern Oaks already and just placed in the Neville and she's got barrier 1. So some smarty got on there. But anyway, $2 is still a good price, but might cop a fair bit of pressure from Better Joy early on.
Potentially, and then they would be reluctant to hand up, one would think. The early speed to Barber could be a horse who finds itself in a bit of a no man's or no woman's land, as the case may be. It's a great race, the Oaks. It's always a great race, and more we're seeing the horses who win these races go on to be great horses heading forward. But yep, at the moment, Ally Mac is the top of the trots for this bunch, and the Jewels, of course, she's also very short, but I wouldn't get carried away with the Jewels just yet. You can back her $1.65 to win the Jewels or $1.65 to win this. You know she'll be in superior form as a stayer. She goes to Cambridge and draws the second line.
Inside back row or something like that.
Which is we had dreamed about me drew 2 years ago.
Yep.
And it's a whole different ball game, so just hold off on the Jewels.
Really cool story coming out of Friday night. One Over to Moon, who starts this Friday night, a Jules winner himself, side his first ever winner of only 2 the first year. Well, he didn't stand.
Did you see this coming, Apollo 1? I didn't see it.
One Apollo raced really well in a couple of those runs. Just manners probably beat him, but this was a terrific performance. He comes wide on the track here. And his finishing burst was outstanding. You really got me, gave you a great sight. There's Cheerful to its outside. Jake the Muss through the middle. Doff Your Calf was actually going to run into it and goes into a gallop here, but One Apollo. Massive win. I don't know that this would have happened too often, Michael. A horse still racing that side, a winner of a stakes race like this.
I think it would have happened more in the earlier days. Obviously, horses back in the day, served and raced, and they also raced till they were a lot older. But he's not an old horse, One Over to Moon, so that horse is already bigger than his dad, because One Over to Moon's a little tiny fella. I don't understand. First of all, I'm really happy for Steve McNally and for Brent White, because it's nice to see guys who don't have success at Addington at group level that often get that success. So as soon as they hit the line, I thought, okay, I didn't see that coming, but I'm thrilled for these guys. Yep. So well done to you fellas, and well done to you, particularly Brent. I see this horse has been pulled out of the Jewels, so I don't understand that.
Well, that money there, that was a sales series race, so therefore it probably wouldn't be eligible because it's only run a third. Well, as in eligible, it wouldn't have been up the
surely
ranks
the 2-year-old trot, you only need like $3,000. They could have lined up at Oamaru this week.
They could have.
I just don't understand why it's out of the Jewels, and I'm sure they have their own reasons, and maybe he needs to develop. I'm not really sure, but either way, it was a really good feel-good story because everybody, likes Stephen. I don't know Brent very well, but to see those colours, which I see win more often at some of the smaller
tracks.
The line,
yep.
Exactly. Winning at Addington in a feature race was really cool. And again, it harks back to a thing we speak about a lot. We are seeing a lot of stables, a small bunch of stables, dominate the pacing races, but the trotting races are more open, which is so crucial while we've got that Inter-Dominion Trotting Championship back, because the fairy tales come out of trotting races more often than they come out of pacing races.
Yeah, I have to agree there. You talked about Stephen McNally. Let's hear from him and a couple that finished in behind. One Apollo.
Well, Stephen, before tonight, had he lit your world on fire?
Yeah, in some ways he had. He's very green and he gets a bit lost in the running, but he's always showed the ability, and once he flattens out, he has always shown he's a nice horse.
Right, talk me through tonight's run and what was going through your mind during the trip.
Early in the race he got a wee bit keen, which he did last start here, and he ended up breaking. I was able to go with him a wee bit tonight, and after you've gone 100 metres, he spits the bit out and he starts running round, and he's lazy. So we got through there, and round the last bend, sort of woke him up with the blinds, and it was game on then, and he turned in for home. He felt really nice, and I thought we're a real good show then.
How much improvement do you think's left in the tank?
Manners-wise, he's got a lot to learn, and ability's there, which you've seen tonight. So I'm expecting next year you're going to see a really nice trotter.
Okay, next year being the optimum goal, is the Harness Jewels going to be in that pathway?
But not this year's Harness Jewels. No, I'd say probably miss. I'll have to talk to Brent, but just lack of ring craft and getting to the stage of the season, he's probably going to go out and look to come back and take on some of the features next year, hopefully.
Right, nice to see the progeny of One Over the Moon, a horse you've driven in the past, successful here tonight too.
Yeah, it's sort of a bit of a surprise when people will ask you what's he by and you tell them, and they're a bit shocked. But yeah, obviously they can all leave one, and he's a nice type. There's nothing wrong with him.
Blair, third start tonight. What did you make of his run this evening?
Yeah, look, he's got better and better, Matt. And, you know, it's good that he got round today in one piece again. But, his last 100 was very encouraging. So, he's a horse with a lot of future, and I think you'll see the best in that 3. But at this stage, he's doing it all well. So, hopefully the next couple of runs he can put his foot on the till again.
Mark, start number 2 tonight for Cheerful. Talk us through the run.
Yeah, she went good. I probably drove her a little overconfident, I thought, and just tonight she just didn't feel quite as good as she did on the Sunday, but still in a good race.
Onwards to the Jewels now?
Yes, she'll appreciate a few days off, and then we'll prepare her for the Jewels.
So, many of those horses, of course, going this week, Michael, and we'll get an opportunity to have a look at the market there. But we got the answer basically on One Apollo.
One Apollo, I think, set it up, which is good. That's good training because,
Temptation would be to...
Very much so. You'd be tempted to go, and it is going to be a lot stronger, the Jewels, because, Enhance Your Calm, Oscar Bonavina, but those horses are good horses.
They are.
And there's a couple of pretty smart fillies in the North Island too. I think this will be the strongest 2-year-old trotting Jewels we've had.
Yeah.
Very, very strong. I think there's an entire field of horses who could break 2 minutes, which doesn't usually happen.
It's good, isn't it? Yeah. It really is.
Majestic Sun's been the key factor behind it. Majestic Sun leaves these horses who get up and they trot on the natural 2-year-olds. And let's be honest, they're probably not natural older horses. They're probably not great at 5 and 6.
Here's your size market for this week. So this money does go forward to the Jewels. So you really got me, did a great job leading them up the other day. $12 the price there. Enhance Your Calm's unbeaten, both at the trials and on race day. We'll have a look at him, and Oscar Bonavina, who is unbeaten race day, 1 from 1, and could not have been more impressive.
And when he won at Rangiora, he won his half in 57.8.
And jogged it.
Exactly, and he was, he was super impressive.
We'll have a look at that, Michael. Let's have a look at Enhance Your Calm. I just get the impression with this horse that it's bonus time at 2 because he looks to be underdeveloped to me.
I agree. I think if he was in another stable, he wouldn't be $1.85 for the Jewels, or for this race even. He's done nothing wrong, and he's obviously very good. But he's not showing me he's any better than Oscar Bonavina so far. I would say they're on a par, and it might come down to manners and barrier draws this week, and it might come down to the same thing the week after. The dun horse being drawn inside him this week makes things tricky because it really wanted to lead last week and did a super job.
Yeah, well, it had trialled up great before. Things didn't go right on debut, but that was much more like
Have we got
those
some
trials.
video of Oscar?
We've got him winning at Rangiora, beating Sonny's Little
Some
Jestic.
people wouldn't have seen Oscar.
Because it was a Sunday morning.
It was a Sunday early, first race of the card. Obviously, Phil Williamson's colours there, and he just jogs home here. The most impressive part, 57.8 the last half, which is a lot quicker than the other last halves of the major races so far this season.
And he was inside second row draw, manoeuvred his way. He was the only one there, to be fair, but manoeuvred his way out of there. And
well, he had been in two horse trials, so this was the first time he was away from home and very fluent, very square, so lots to like about him. I've got absolutely no doubt at this moment he's as good as Enhance Your Calm, but it's just so hard to back against the All-Stars. But Phil Williamson has a great record in all trotting races, but also a very good record at the Jewels. So he's one horse I thought was potentially backable for the Jewels because if he wins this week, he'll be favourite for the Jewels.
Yep.
And the 2-year-old trotters, unlike some of the other races, the barrier draws probably aren't quite as important as regard to Jules Day there might be 4 gallopers, and all of a sudden there's only 6 or 7 winning chances with a lap to go. So it's one bunch of horses where I don't think there's a lot of value left in the futures markets, but he's one you can make a case for.
2-year-old fillies section has been, well, thrown up in the air a little bit with the issue for Princess Tiffany. Whilst we were at the All-Stars on Sunday, the Whitelock family were there, and Mark, and there is Braden having a look over the foot of Princess Tiffany, and Mark Purdon just cleaving out the hoof to show him. Braden commented to me that it looked very healthy and it all healed nicely, and they're happy with her work. So that's very important, Michael, leading in to the 2-year-old Diamond.
Well, it's crucial because she deserves to be the favourite for this series. Now, let's not forget Platinum Revolution's coming for the series, and therefore you've got a Triton horse involved, and it could be...
Got beaten at the weekend.
Yeah, exactly, but could be a lot of pressure indicator early. There's Big Sam Whitelock, of course.
Yes.
New Zealand Rugby Player of the Year last season. You told me earlier this week the Whitelock boys are quite involved in the family horses.
We've got a nice profile on him, talking to him about the big day on the Saturday, because of course they play the Chiefs up the road a few hours after.
This is on Jules Day.
On Jules Day.
Yeah. So he said that he'll be watching on the phone?
Yeah, they have line-out drills and all those sorts of things that they have to take care of, so not allowed to nip up the road.
You'd have to wonder after how many games of rugby he's played why they need line-out drills. I mean, you think he might know what he's doing.
It's all just the process, I suppose.
Yeah,
and
keep it against
I think they're getting it quite right, although at 29-0 the other day they probably didn't think so.
With Princess Tiffany, she's clear top pick for that bunch of horses, but Kayla Marie is probably improving enough that, again, with the barrier draws, Cambridge means you are a 33% chance of drawing the second line. So do you want to take 2.6 for Princess Tiffany if she's on the second line? Probably not, but 33% chance, decreasing your percentages means that you're effectively taking $2 if she's a 66% chance of drawing the front line. It's complicated, but trust me, would you do that? And yes, you probably would. So she's one horse you can make a case for.
What's a famous mathematician?
Whereas Kayla Marie, you couldn't make a case for.
Have you not got one, a mathematician? Yeah.
There's plenty of them around. Yeah.
Who's your idol? Because the way you're coming out with those stats.
Well, it's what I do in my spare time rather than watching television.
No, very good. We're going to take a break with the mathematician here.
Yeah.
When we come back, we'll have a look at some other features out of Addington. There's Colin Berry, who wrapped up his photography
what a great
career.
Dude Colin Berry is.
Yeah.
He's just a good dude.
Hoping to do a profile on him at some stage. Good luck to me getting that, but it's worth a look, I reckon, and worth doing. Short break for us, back shortly. So here's a BB Inter doing it in the Hara de Trotteurs sire stakes. Got it out again, Michael. Did you love that? He launched down the back and wasn't he brilliant?
He's in the zone. He can win the duels, absolutely no doubt. I mean, let's not forget there's Monty Python back there in 5th or 6th place, and he ran 2nd in the Road Cup. This horse would have been competitive in the Road Cup. Now, Ingheim is top dog in the 4-year-olds. There's no doubt about that. We all know that. But he's had a very hard autumn racing at the top level. This horse has found horses he can just beat, and his confidence is high. Goes to the trials at Rangiora on Monday, and they're going to look to give him some mobile experience. He can win. Here's another horse who's in the zone, beating some pretty good older horses, Zacario, Greg, and I'll be honest, this surprised me.
Yeah, it surprised a few. Natalie Rasmussen said pre-race she didn't think handicapping-wise he could win this because Alta Orlando have been flying, and Pat's Delight and Sheriff won the Derby. They ran 1-2 in the Derby, so he sat parked and still won, so it was a pretty brave performance from him.
I think he was starting to get tired by the time he got to the New Zealand Derby, and I think he wasn't poor there, but he wasn't great. A little bit of a freshen up. He's come back here and he's flying, and clearly he goes forward to the duels. Sheriff disappointing there.
Yes, he didn't get round that last bend that well. Spoke to Blair about that, and he said, look, I'm sure come duels time he'll just be that little bit further advanced and hopefully back to that sublime form that he showed on Derby night. What are you thinking there?
Well, it's hard to back him on that run, but then again, 2 starts ago he was outstanding. So the one horse out of that race who I do like is Pat's Delight. Goes to the sophomore this week, and what a beautiful race for him. To be eligible for this, you can't have won a Group 1 or a race worth more than $100,000. Well, he was a nose from winning the Derby and wouldn't have been eligible. All of a sudden, he finds himself in the right race, albeit with a tricky barrier draw.
He does have enormous speed early, though. I could see Dexter lighting him up, and if he does, gets past Nandolo and Naholo. They're really good horses, but gee, they're copping some tough races. Hale Christian racing well, Tennyson Bromax, a New Zealand record holder, Alta Maestro outstanding this time last year as a 2-year-old, and Fun at the Beach has been freshened up, and we know he's more than capable. So it might not just be that simple, but on exposed form, he probably should be winning.
I thought if Alta Maestro didn't go forward, he'd cross the rest. Alta Maestro's pretty quick, but they have been sometimes going forward, sometimes not. So his race to lose, but Fun at the Beach is probably a very progressive horse too. But Pat's Delight gets in there beautifully, because you would think with his form line he actually wouldn't be eligible for that race. Well done to the Sire Stakes board. Those sophomores, the PGG people as well. That's important because it gives other horses a chance rather than the same horses all the time.
We've got the Sire Stakes final on Friday night too, and that's been split between the Sale Series 2 weeks ago and now, which I think is a good thing. One stat that I did find, Michael, there's not a great record for horses winning the double in the time that it's been run. In fact, More the Better's the only horse in about the last 13 or 14 years.
Yeah, 2 reasons. First of all, sometimes the Sire Stakes horses aren't eligible for the Sale Series. Also, barrier draws are so crucial. The 1950 races, Lazarus got beaten in this race.
Only 5 times in the last 35 years.
So that's how easy it is to get beaten.
Yeah, for sure. What do you make of this market?
There's a mistake in this market. I said at the top of the show there's a mistake, and there's a mistake in this market. War Dandelight is very good, and he could win this race, but he should not be 2.9, and he won't be 2.9 on the night. Whereas another Masterpiece, who's 3.30, I would suggest if they go forward, which is what they did last time, would get the lead off War Dandelight. I'm absolutely convinced another Masterpiece will start favourite in this race.
Well, I'll be picking him on his performance last week.
I'm not saying War Dandelight will beat him. Can't beat him. You can beat him. But one of them is still very much on the way back because War Dandelight had a virus. And he's had 2 trials and they were good. But he's coming back, and I think he's being aimed at the jewels, and this is a step toward the jewels, albeit a $170,000 step. But I think another Masterpiece will lead. And if he leads on what we saw last start, how is he not the horse to beat? Yeah. Under any circumstance, unless he hands up to Jesse Duke, which I don't see happening.
No, because by the time they run to the end of the back straight, they get around to the winning place, only a lap to go.
And he didn't hand up last time.
No, he didn't.
So why would you want to hand up? So
agreed.
By race start time, I'm not saying one will win or the other will win, and therefore that's what you're betting into. What you do when you're looking at early markers is what they're going to pay on the tote, because then you can back both of them if you like that way to bet. By race start time, another Masterpiece will start favourite. Yep. Because you're going to pick it, Matt's going to pick it, and it's the one with the winning form. By the time you see the videos, you're just going to go, okay. So I'm not saying the bookies have got it wrong. Maybe they're smarter than me, and maybe he'll just come out and win War Dandelight.
Well, just say that again.
Well,
maybe they're smarter than you, okay? Well, yeah, I just wanted to get that out there.
Well, the thing that indicates to me they're not is when I have a bet now, they close the market. So I'm picking that maybe they don't think that's true
Scare
either.
Tactics.
Well, I'll tell you the truth. I backed Bibby Inter last night. I think it's got a great chance of winning the jewels, and the market was closed for 12 hours afterwards.
Right.
And
gee, you're a powerful man.
No, you know what it is? It wasn't a big bet. Well, definitely not a big bet by my standards. But it's not good enough closing Group 1 markets because someone's had a bet.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I backed it to win 20,000. I had a fun bet on it. So,
okay.
Would it happen in the Gallops? Would it happen in the Gallops? Ask yourself that if you work there at Petone.
No. Sale Series Trot. We need to have a look at that. Only a small field for good money here, Michael. And favouritism is with Paramount King, last season's Jewels winner. Only narrowly over Stress Factor. He probably needs to lift.
And the strange thing is, Paramount King's been pulled out of the Jewels.
Yeah, what's the go there?
I think they're thinking we got one shot at this. We'll go south. This is obviously more low-hanging fruit, but he probably doesn't have
I still don't get that, Michael.
Neither do I. I don't understand it either.
Why would you do that when it's on your back doorstep?
I'm not going to
question the Dickies, no.
Exactly. They're smart traders, but it does seem strange. They've got to go home past Cambridge, I would suggest.
Yeah, I would have
Stress
thought
factor's
so.
a funny one because he's 2.8 and he just seems to have lost his way. Hasn't been finding the line in his races. But you could say the same thing about Paramount King. I thought if there was value in the race, Valoria.
Yeah,
Valoria.
you've been very disappointing since winning the
I thought he
Hamiltonian.
might punch forward and maybe
I wanted
get
to
the
show
lead.
you Showgate. This was pre-barrier draw, to be honest, when I put this together. She was in that first race last Friday night. That's her in the 1-1 behind Never Neverland, and she never actually gets out. Throws her head in the air there, nearly galloped, gets eventually into the clear and finds the line quite nicely. On this performance, can she beat those other couple you've mentioned? Maybe, but I like the way she found the line, and she's got a chance.
This race and the Sales Series race last week show why you pay up for the Sales Series. Now, not all horses are eligible. Obviously, there's some homebreds, and we saw that last week with the 2-year-olds.
80,000 this week.
Well, it's huge coin. And if your horse can trot at all, you pay up because it must be so frustrating if you don't pay up and you watch inferior horses go around for 80,000. Now, Paramount King's not an inferior horse. He won the Jewels last year, but you know, if you owned, for example, say Winterfell, and Winterfell's a homebred, so he's not eligible because he didn't go to the sales. But if you own Winterfell and he was a sales horse for 80k, you'd be just going, wow. But yes, what you're seeing is with the sales races, the trotters races tend to be a lot weaker than the pacers races because a lot of the trotters are retained. Because there's not huge money for them at the sales. Take, for example, Winterfell. They go to the sales, or they don't go to the sales. People like either breeders, because they're zealots, or they go to the sales and they get offered 30 or 40 and they keep them. So if you buy a trotter at the sales, you pay up for them because often what you see is the best bunches of horses, and Harnshaw Khan, Oscar Bonavina, they're not paid up because they're retained horses, and we're definitely seeing that the last couple of weeks. So just something to think about if you buy a trotter at the sales. They're not all going to get there. But, gee, it's big money, Greg.
We'll be analysing the next race we're having a look at a few times on picking between now and Harness Jewels time because AG's White Sox, Eamon Maguire, hold the key in so many facets, Michael, towards the 4-year-old feature. AG's White Sox, of course, won over this distance in the Easter Cup. Beating More the Better, who's subsequently been sold. And,
another one.
Yeah, another one gone. And Eamon Maguire, who was very, very good winning the Messenger. $1.90 plays $2.50. 2 miles stand. We know AG's White Sox has done it. We think Eamon Maguire will, but he hasn't won from a stand.
No, look, the All-Stars are telling me he's in the zone. Here he is coming out of the trail, winning over 2,700 metres in the Messenger. There's a 400-metre score up, so it's as good as 2 miles. I think he was out on his feet, but AG's White Sox has been there, done that. I reckon it's a split.
What do you reckon about this being a lead-up race for the Jewels? It's not really ideal, is it?
Well, it's not Addington's responsibility.
No, and I'm not
Yeah.
saying that, but
funny enough, Piccadilly Princess ran second in this race last year
to get into the Jewels
and won the Jewels.
Yeah.
No,
it's no shot at Addington. It's just
I do think that this week at Cambridge they should have had an entire mile program. There's an average meeting there tomorrow night. I think they should have run miles for everybody because it wouldn't have done them any harm for anybody in the north who wanted to try and qualify a horse for the Jewels and get a look at the track under those circumstances. Although I could also say...
Is it the next week at Auckland?
Maybe they should have all been 1,700.
Is the next week at Auckland a mile night?
It is.
I've got a feeling it is. Yeah, but it's too late for those who wanted to qualify.
Well, the other thing is they shouldn't run miles at Alexander Park.
No.
That is
for the same reason we've discussed.
Well, for the same reason the Taylor Mile's not a mile, because it's a stupid distance at Alexandra Park. So I like the fact they're having a sprint night at Alexandra Park, but it should be 1,700. You still get the mile rate, and you run quick enough.
Yep. All right, big night, Addington, Friday night. Looking forward to being there with Matthew Cross and Mark Mack. We mentioned last week a significant milestone for a trainer in this country, and on Sunday I got a chance to go out and catch up with one CT Dalgety to discuss that very fact. Cran Bazinga's win at Invercargill in a maiden race probably held more significance for you than most people would have realised at the time.
Yes, my young lad Carter, he's a bit of a statistician, and he said, well, that brought up our 1,200 wins, so it's not that it was sort of major or anything else, but something bigger for us anyway.
What that also did for you was got you into the top 5 of all time. 3 Purdens, Robert Dunn and CT Dalgety. That must have seemed an awfully long way away when Lord won your first race back in '92. Yes,
well, it's interesting. Time goes. We talk about it when we're young. We want to be 21, then we want to be 50, but now I want to go backwards. But in the short time it seemed like I was working for the Purdens, it seemed like 3 weeks ago, but it was a lot of years ago, and here I was working for them. Now I can sort of be a bit of an understudy to them, and being in the top 5, it's sort of wee feather in the cap.
Let's talk about your early development and the time you did spend with the likes of Roy and Barry and some of their methods. Is it still part of the CT Dalgety mindset? And I suppose as much as that is what your father's influence has been.
I think caring for the animals is the biggest thing. A lot of training methods have really changed because the breed, they're bred to be more thoroughbred types now. We used to work them probably 50-60% harder years ago, 20 years ago than we do now. We're like the thoroughbred sort of code now. They're short, sharp work, and they're faster, but funny enough, they're actually weaker. I shouldn't say that, but they're like crystal bowls, these horses, their legs and their elements, and it's no different from the sports teams. You've never heard an All Black having time off, but they all played the 80 minutes, but now they're off all the time, same as these horses.
In your time, your early years, you spent some time in the States as well, learnt how to travel horses, and that's been a big part of your operation as well, and your success, particularly in Australia.
No doubt. I've made some blunders and still make blunders now, but there's a hell of a knack in travelling horses, recovering them, and do you drive on with them, do you come back, how far do you go before the big event? Yes, a lot in it, and I learned a lot off Brian Hancock in the years. I used to stay with him earlier in my earlier trips, and yeah, you live and learn. Keep your eyes and ears open and ask a lot of questions. I annoyed a lot of people by asking questions, but I'd like to think I give each horse their chance when I do travel now.
Gee, you've had some cracking horses. Desperate Comment. Oh, well, let's go back to Lord for a start, because he won your first Group 1 Sire Stakes win. His first win, incidentally, the late great D.G. Jones. His last winning drive was your first training win.
Yes, that is correct. I sort of got a lot of miles off that because I was sort of an unknown, and probably still unknown now. But Derek was a sort of a legend, and still is. We talk about him like he's still here now, but obviously he's not. And so yeah, I took a lot of benefit out of that. And then his son Peter went on and drove the horse for us after that. And then a step later, and then Mark Jones was with us for 7-8 years, and we had a lot of success together. And he won the World Driving Championships in that time.
Yeah, of course, you developed him, and the 10-time premiership winning driver and world driving champion himself, and Dexter Dunn.
Yes, he's very born to be very gifted at a particular sport, as in horses running for him. He's very kind to them, and they give a bit extra for him than probably some others. I'm sure he makes dyed blue, but he's only human, but he makes less blues than the rest.
Some of these great horses. Desperate Comment. He got you a couple of Victoria Cups.
Yes, we did a lot of travelling with him. I was the fourth trainer to get him, and we were lucky enough to go around the globe, and he won 1.1 million for us, and I was only 23 when he first drove up the drive, and but anyway, I'm looking for my next one.
Better Strike, so close in a New Zealand Cup. More about that in a moment. Smiling Shard, bit of a legend who's gone on and done an incredible job in America rather. Sparks Are Flying, she was an outstanding filly.
Yes, well, she was a filly. We only paid 10,000 for her. I actually mistook her for a colt rather than a filly, but we brought her, and we had a lot of behind-the-scenes dramas with her. She was a little sweetheart. You wouldn't want to be married to her, but went on and won a lot of money, and the breed from her has just been enormous for what it's done for the Wakefields, and now, so with a little bit of luck here we are visiting as a granddaughter.
The New Zealand Derby with Lochaburn, Northern Derby with Rakapuka Ruler. All of these great races, Cran, but there's one missing out of that cabinet, isn't it? We mentioned Better Strike close in the Cup, Chris and me the same. But that New Zealand Cup still eludes you. Does it still drive you to want to win that great race?
Yeah, that's an interesting event. It's an icon race, and people even away from racing, like my mates from school, they don't know who won a lot of the bigger races, but they all know who won the New Zealand Cup, and it's just got that sort of prestige about it. It was a race, even if it was worth $5,000, it would still be one to strive to win. And sure, I've had some placings in it, but you've either won it or you haven't. But we'll still give it a shot.
Cran, what about the future? So you're fifth in the all-time. By the time you complete your training, and I'm not too sure how long you're thinking of sticking around, but I'm picking it's for a while, you're going to be up over 1,500, honing in on 2,000 wins. Those things don't drive you, but it would be something nice to achieve.
No doubt about it. Any little milestone, it's probably more of a personal thing than a sort of a public sort of viewing to say, it's a big accolade, but it gets down to a stage where we're in a bit of a vicious circle here as New Zealand trainers, where as much as we like to win as a million races, we do sell a lot of horses. We're a nursery. I think if I'd kept every horse rather than sell any, I might have won some crazy amount of numbers, but But we put a more of a commercial sort of business sort of philosophy on my business now, opposed to sort of winning every race. But of course, that isn't saying I'm trying to say I want to win every race for every owner, of course. But you do bring a lot of sort of commercial thinking into it as well.
Some of those owners, you mentioned the Wakefields before, plenty of them have been loyal in the quarter of a century that you've been going.
Yes, when I first come in here, they had a horse in the stall ready for go for me, and I had 5 people I'd love to name. Trevor Beaton was one, and Graham Byrne, and the Wakefields and Ross Stanbury all had a horse in the stable, and they've still got a horse in the stable now, and that was 26 years ago.
Yeah, that's a wonderful record by them, and obviously a testament to how you've treated them too. Congratulations on your latest milestone, and I'm sure there's plenty more to come.
Thank you, Gregory. So we'll look forward to the next, like you say.
Yeah, some great insight there to Crandell-Geddy and his operation.
So his first winner was Lord.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, with the late great D.G. Jones.
Wow.
His last winning drive.
So that was what, 1992?
Yeah.
Gee, that's a long time ago.
And 4 or 5 months later, he went out and he won the Sire Stakes final, which back then I think Cran said may have been 180, 190,000. Amazing for a young trainer at that stage.
Yeah. And a couple of things I like about Cran. He's a very, very hard worker, which comes from his dad, because that's the way they grew up at Jim's place. And he's won a whole bunch of races. He's won a premiership as well. But he hasn't changed his sense of humour. He hasn't let life get him down and become, a stress head or,
What about his dress sense over the years? Has that improved?
Improved? I wouldn't say improved.
It's possibly got worse.
But that's part of him. He's a fun, effervescent person. And it's a lot easier to get owners if you're happy than if you're grumpy.
Yeah. And he mentioned some of those.
That would seem right to me.
There that had stuck with him right from day one. 4 or 5 owners, which shows you that they feel like they've had a fair deal too.
And he's had success in Australia, which is hard to do. The travelling thing is really hard to do. So, look, 1,200 wins is a lot. He's still relatively young. A really interesting thing he told me once is that when he did the Coast to Coast, he learnt a lot about recovery and his own metabolism and physiology, and he's put that into his horse training. I'm a great believer that if you've done some athletics or some cycling or anything which has a lot of lactic acid build-up, it must help you understand what the horses go through, because when a horse has a New Zealand Cup run, for example, the recovery's more important than what you do with them next. So, and Cran's a great believer in that, and that's part of him just always wanting to learn and get better. So well done to Cran for the 1,200. He'll end up at the 2,000 club. Not many people are in the 2,000 club, but he's got plenty of time on his side.
Yep, he definitely has. Short break for us. When we come back, we're still going to have a look at some features from Alexandra Park last week and talk about what's ahead around this great country of ours, harness racing wise. It's your box seat, and there's our sponsor, Sweet Lou, just having a bit of fun.
Good on him.
Yeah.
Fun is good. Hey, later on, we'll get some photographs of a couple of his little babies, because we've had some feedback. We've had actually a lot of feedback the last couple of weeks about different things. And one of them was one of our viewers wanting to know where Adore Me's stock is. So we'll show you that very shortly.
Yep, that'll be good.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Alexandra Park from Friday night. Race 1. That's what it was. Fillies final for a whole lot of cash.
Richest race of the weekend.
Yeah.
Of either coast.
Yeah, and half time, she put the writing on the wall with her performance behind Kayla Marie at a previous start. She won very easily here.
Also shows how good Kayla Marie and Princess Tiffany are, because she just led here and bolted in. Miss Streisand probably got too far back. It's only one spot too far back, but that was enough to be the difference in the race. And half time we'll go to the Jewels with that Gatesbury Gregory, which is going to be crucial for the 2-year-old fillies. She's a horse who would have at least a chance in the Jewels, drawn 1, 2, 3,
Lovely
4.
big horse, isn't she? She took her career earnings up over 118,000, and better move it could run a wee bit too. So yeah, nice work.
Yep, and at pretty early days. I mean, she's got a Jewels to go, and then obviously the question mark everybody's going to face after the Jewels is, are we eligible for the Breeders' Crown, and do we go there? So I would be surprised if Zach, who we see there saluting, doesn't get the Star Galleria drive too, now that Tony Hurley, he almost certainly won't be there for the Jewels.
Monaro Mia, we actually talked about her last week on the show because it was the Trotting Oaks in the north, and her run the week before was very, very good, and your tip in the race, well, Manners let her down again.
Well, she was all over the shop, girls, on film. That's her on the inside leading there, but let's not concentrate on the negative. Monaro Mia knew from the Graham Neal barn to the Nikki Chilcott barn, trotted beautifully, doing a super job. Beats Six on Fire.
By Imperial Count?
Yep, exactly, who was bought out here as part of that package deal with those horses who came out from Scandinavia a couple of years ago. Yep. Look, it's going around in the...
Did it come here about the same time as Peak?
It came at the same
that
flight.
package
The two of them
Timber.
came together.
Yeah.
And it goes to Cambridge tomorrow night for the Waikato Trotting Oaks. Well done to Cambridge for having a Waikato Trotting Oaks. Very hard to make a case it won't win again. So, girls on film, clearly there's some little annoying issue there, but well done to Nikki. Well done to, I think it was Salish was driving this one. And it's clearly a horse with the future.
Home in 58, 28.9 would only need to go as good again, as you say, at Cambridge and then on to the Harness Jewels. So doing a great job, as is Sea Swift Joy. Now, I think I'm now eligible to say this. So I spoke to Malcolm Shin about her one day. He thinks that this is the best horse he's ever trained.
Really?
Well, that is a big, big statement. I know you probably would have liked me to have said that before this race last. Yeah, she is and was very, very good again. You've got to remember her last two wins, she sat park and she launched down the back about the 600 and outstayed them here. Her previous two runs were in the Taylor Mile Messenger, where she basically didn't have any chance, courtesy of a couple of bad barrier draws. But when she's good, she's very good, and therefore at Cambridge, she's a player.
Well, an Utmost Delight's a Group 1 winner. The horse sitting on her back there, it makes no ground. She'll improve, you know, for the jewels, obviously, but if Malcolm's saying that, that's a huge
11
call.
from 37. He's turned down a lot of big, big money offers for her. And
you've got to ask what you do with a horse like her now then, because are you hoping next season you can pick up a Group 1? That's the only level left, I would think, as in regards to what she needs to achieve, or do you do what Delicious Camp did? Because she'd be a lovely Menangle horse. Go across there and get a 150 or a 151.
Well, at this stage, he's resisted selling her, so one would think that he wants to carry on.
Yeah, you could send her across there and get those sort of times if you're going to keep on breeding from her. But gee, she's a lovely, tough mare. Utmost Delight will improve, but outpointed clearly on fitness there. But there's no excuses. The winner was too good.
Tony Hurley, good friend of yours, didn't have such a great night there at Alexandra Park and in his career. This would rate right up there. I know that you know about his previous big crash.
Well, it's a bizarre crash. What happens is, as we see the giant hand, there's Tony driving CK Spur. Galloper Sartorius comes back through the field, as you can see there, squeezes up the horse outside Tony. It runs in on Tony. Boom. He hits the deck and lands on his back. And as you know, your rib cage goes around to your back, and he broke 4 ribs, but one of them in 2 places, so he has 5 fractures. The remarkable thing about the story is, Tony's only ever had one other serious race smash involving broken bones in his life, and it was in exactly the same part of the track. Most importantly as well, the horse was fine.
What year was that?
It's racing 1995, October the 12th. Sharp and
Step me up, Steve.
Sharp and Telford in a side stake seat.
What time was it?
It was about race 4, and it was won by the Court Owl. And Sharp and Telford banged a knee and fell during that race, and Tony broke 4 ribs across the back again too, and the back's the worst place to break them. In front's bad enough when you sneeze, at the back sucks. But that occasion he came back after 2 weeks. Sharp and Telford, of course, went on to win an Auckland Cup. CK Spur is back tomorrow night at Cambridge, so he's fine because the horses.
And War Machine, the one that affected him during that run, is your tip.
Yeah, well, I reckon he'll win tomorrow night. But so Tony said to me, look, I reckon it'll be harder to get back. He's a little bit older now than he was in 1995. He's 23 years older than he was in 1995. So he thinks he won't be back for the Jewels. He said he's been relatively lucky to only have had 2 serious injuries. But if you go back and look at the Sharp and Telford footage, and I remember it specifically at the time, it was an almost exactly, like I'm talking a 10-metre radius from where Tony hit the deck the other day and broke the same ribs.
Race 4, October 23.
October 12th.
October 12th.
The Court Owl won it.
Shows you I'm not listening.
So the Court Owl won it way back then. So it's remarkable. But I hope get better soon, Tone. I'm sure you're watching the show because you can't do anything else because you've got broken ribs. But I would suggest he won't be back for the Jewels. That's what he didn't sound entirely confident, and then he'll be back driving sooner rather than later. Again, he's had a wonderful season, but they're not much fun. Have you had broken ribs?
Yeah, I have.
It's not
A
much
couple of
fun.
crack ribs. No, it's
I
not
wish I could
much
think of
fun.
something funny to say so I could ring Tony and make him laugh because it would hurt.
Yeah.
But I'm out of funny stuff.
That'd be really funny. Right, we're going to take a break.
Okay.
Speaking of hurls, and when we come back, we've got some more new Jules news, and Wobbly will be part of that. Welcome back into your box seat. Michael, great to see Wobbly getting back into winning form. We'll have a look at that New South Wales Derby win shortly. But on Jules preview night, 2 weeks, the four of us, myself, you, the
Matt
Whale
Cross.
and Matt Cross, will have a $500 bet
each,
which we'll be giving away.
So 4 punters win a $500 bet from each of us?
Yep, that's right.
Well, if I get it, I'm going to back something paying $1.10 so they get their $5.50. I'm not going to try and be a
That's
hero.
not very brave.
Well, I don't care. That's not my money.
It's not your money. The bookmakers are giving us the money, which is quite surprising.
There's now 7 Australians coming to the Jules, so they tell me.
The way you talk about them.
Well, that's the way. Yep, exactly. And Wobbly, I thought would pull out because it was poor at Kilmore 2 weeks ago.
Scallywag Sam beat it.
But then went to the New South Wales Trotting Derby the other day, mucked around in the score-up as he tends to do. That's him stomping down the outside. He's a great story. And it's not a deep crop of 3-year-olds with Luby Lou, of course, out. So having him here, Greg's good because Winterfell is a dominant favourite. This is a good horse. I'm not saying he's better than Winterfell, but he adds a lot to that division. And as we're getting closer, less of the Australians have pulled out than I thought maybe they would. There's 7 in the running now. I think if 5 turns up, it's a huge result, particularly if one of those 5 is Jillaby Kung Fu.
Yeah, we definitely want him here. Speaking of Aussie trotting, they've got a big race this week. Tornado Valley just keeps on winning.
It's remarkable. The former Terry McMillan trotter just slayed them again the other night in Victoria. He's won about $120,000 in 3 months, which we don't want to see our good horses leave, Greg, but you can see why they do when there's just repetitive opportunities in Australia not racing very, very strong horses.
Queen of Pacific this week too.
That's the good news.
Carla's Pixel.
Carla's Pixel races there before coming to the Jules, and that'll be at Melton this week.
Amaretto, Beresari.
Yeah, it's good mares, and Piccadilly Princess is there too. So
hey, just on that, Michael, 4-year-old mares. Party On has qualified, right? Here's something for the bookmakers.
So Party On's not in the Jules markets.
Well, it's not, but it's back at the All Stars, and it will be starting.
And she's going to the Jules.
So. She
needs to go into the market.
She's not the Aussie invite.
Just to one with the bookies, I do give the bookies a very hard time, harder than anybody. And I do realise there's a lot of things to keep up with there, and I can see how occasionally one would sneak through the cracks. So we're not hassling about the Party On should be in there.
Yep.
But yeah, there's other things that the shutting of markets I'm totally against. I don't think you should shut markets unless there's a race on at the time, which is relevant to that race. I don't think you can just shut markets because someone's had a bet.
Kiwi heading overseas, expat Kiwi, Brent Lilly. He's making his way to the Elite Loppet.
Yeah, he's going to the Elite Loppet. They're actually already there, which is in Sweden, of course. It's a great race. The race Pride of Petite qualified for the Final Four. There's Fred Cruz, who owns him with Lil. The old days at the Elite Loppet, which is the Elite Loppet as they call it in Sweden, which is May 26th, they used to pay the way for the Australasian horses to go. That's not the case any longer.
Your man, Klaus Klock, he was involved there. Is
exactly.
he still there?
No, all those things have changed. They're paid their own way to go. Well done to Lil. It's a trip of a lifetime. He'll learn some stuff. Has she got a winning chance? Absolutely not. One would think if she qualified for the final, that would be magnificent. It's like saying this. This is the way I relate it. If somebody said you could go to the Olympics, would you go? Well, you get thrashed. Of course you would. But would you still go because it's an experience of a lifetime? Some people would, some people wouldn't. And that's the Marie Time situation here. If she qualifies for the final, that will be massive.
We've got some feedback we want to have a look at. Don't forget also this Sunday out at Waiuku, the Alabar Open Day, and they've got about 55 weanlings to have a look at. And Vincent's going to be paraded there too.
Yeah, they've got the sales the day before the Jules.
Yes.
So, and it's a sale a couple of years ago. I think Ken Brecken pinhooked a horse at 40 or 50 and sold it for 130, 140, or maybe even more. So we've had some feedback. We got asked about Adore Me's foals. Well, here's Adore Me's foals. We've got so far Adore Me has a yearling, by Sweet Lou and a weanling by Sweet Lou. This is the weanling by Sweet Lou, and now the great mare is in foal to Some Beach Somewhere. Here's the yearling being broken in. Where's this been broken in at?
No, pass.
Yep.
I'm not sure.
It's been broken in at the moment down south Yulby.
Oh, that looks like Jeremy Markham. I would say that's Mark Jones's.
So anyway, it's been broken in down there by Stephen
Boyd.
Stephen Boyd.
That's where he's working for. Absolutely right. He worked for. Yeah, that's right.
Also well done to you, Stephen, breaking in one of the more high-profile yearlings in the country. And there's the great Mira Dormy winning the cup in record time. So, yep, Stephen Boyd entrusted with this horse who...
He does quite a bit for the All-Stars
team there. He'll end up at the All-Stars. So her name is Renee.
Yeah.
So there you go, the update on Adorme. 2 Sweet Lou's and in foal to Some Beach Somewhere.
Yes, Mark McNamara. Of course, we mentioned last week that Platinum Revolution, who him, Katie, and her father-in-law, and Mr. Goseby bred, it's making its way here for the Jewels. So
obviously
that's cool.
not much irrigation in that part of New South Wales.
No, and could probably do with a decent sort of a rug before it gets over here as well. But anyway,
to breed a horse to get to the Jewels for Mark and Katie is huge.
Yeah,
so well
massive
done
for them.
We had some feedback from Graham Bruton. Bruty said, "Look, great. The Trotters are coming back for the Inter-Dominions. The State 150 is not enough." I agree. You're right.
Yeah, he is absolutely
it's
right.
Not enough, but
hey, mate, it's a stepping
stone.
It's
better than having none.
Yeah,
but
not
it's
having
still not
one.
enough.
Yeah, totally agree there, and we always appreciate the feedback. Chase Auckland, we didn't mention him. Well, it wasn't by design.
I didn't get the feeling when I was talking to Mark that Chase Auckland was in the New Zealand Cup team. He said that we would have Ultimate Machete, Dream About Me, and the sleeper is the fixer.
Yep.
So he wasn't mentioning it, so hence we didn't mention it. But a very good point. It could turn up there, but I get the feeling it might not.
Yep. Last week we got a lot of feedback about Lazarus and the coverage we gave him, but I think he thoroughly deserved it, and I'm sure you'll agree.
Well, when you see all those highlights put together, you go, wow. It's like when you watch a great tennis player or a golfer or a cricketer or whatever, and you see all the highlights put together, you go, wow, that's some body of work. So, yep, Laz, it was good fun. What happens next? Well, who knows? We might pop up on October and see him. Do you want to go?
Why not? Yeah, that could be the start of the season 2018-19.
The box seat goes rogue in North America.
What about domestically this week in New Zealand? Let's get around this nation of ours. You've mentioned Cambridge on Thursday night, $25,000 fast track insurance pick 6 there, 5:10, the start time of 10. Friday night, big night, Addington Raceway. Whole heap of features there and a key night, of course, leading towards the Harness Jewels in 15 days' time. From that point, 5:01, the start time there, and there's a non-tote to boot. Gore on Saturday, 10 races starting 11:38, and Oamaru, which there's always a Harness Jewels runner comes out of that. $3,000 bonus for first 4 on every race. They've been huge. They certainly were last week at the far lap. So 11:35 at the start time there at Oamaru. What about best bets,
I thought
Michael?
this thing had just won. War Machine comes out of the Rowe Cup. It was in the race which was called off last week and falls into a beautiful race at Cambridge. Brent Mangos drives. I think it'll suit. I think it'll win.
Well, I'm taking a leaf out of Graham Bruton's books, and he sent us some more feedback. He said, I want value. Well, I think Donegal Carrick Finn will be exactly that. It's up against O'Hansey. It's drawn inside back row over 1950, so I'll have to work out from that precarious position. But Donegal Carrick Finn, each way, there you go, on Friday night. More the better.
Off to Ross Krogan.
Yep, been sold.
Brian Meal did the deal, and of course, part owned by the legend Roy Purdon. You sort of forget how good a 2-year-old he was. He was very, very good.
Well, he won all the big ones. This is him beating AG's White Sox and the Superstars.
And people could look at this and say, why would you sell him? Well, you can't hold on to them all, but the number and the class of the horses out of the All-Stars sold in the last 6 months is...
mind-blowing, isn't it?
It's unbelievable. I mean, it's like one of those, the other All Black team types things. The horses we've sold in the last 6 months are better than the horses we have left, if you had the best 10 of each.
And Heaven Roxy started in America at the weekend.
Ran second,
win a good race too, on a sloppy track. So,
yeah, geez, a lot of things going on at the moment. So this time next week we'll know pretty much who's going to be going to the Jewels. The barrier draws won't be out, but some of the Australian form this weekend, and of course Addington will be crucial to that. Greg, we're getting awfully close. Enjoy Friday night.
Appreciate your time tonight, Michael. Look forward to seeing you in 7 days' time, and you too. Enjoy your harness racing week ahead.